Tuesday, February 7th, 2023. What is going on, guys? Brandon here. Let's dive into the markets. Quick, brief overview of what exactly is going on. Across the board is really not a ton of movement, quite honestly. We've seen the biggest jump probably in oil. Of some of the metrics we check, when I talk about oil, the DXY, the relative strength of the dollar, and the 10-year treasury. Those are kind of the three benchmarks of the economy. You really have to watch and see what's going on. The big thing, again, like I said, really so far is getting up towards a 4% move in crude oil today, all the way up to almost $77 a barrel. So that's, a fairly significant jump. We're going to see, maybe some fireworks. We can see this big jump in the 10-year treasury as well. Actually, let's jump to that. See what's going on. So the 10-year treasury, we've seen this big jump. Almost kind of a breakout in a way. Let's see, draw a line across these. So you see like almost breakout. I'm not a big technical analysis guy, but again, these are things to watch to see what's going on. We're long-term investors. We are people that prepare. I'm not going to sit around and tell you how to technically trade and do all these things. I'll leave that for other people. I'm not a big guy that likes to pay all these huge, massive amounts of tax bills and things like that. We like to minimize taxes here. We like to legally pay less tax by buying real estate and then fixing it up and renting it out, refinancing it, pulling out things tax-free, pulling out debt, which is tax-free, using debt to our advantage because the dollar is debt at the end of the day. And we have some other articles, some other videos we've been doing as well about the debt ceiling and what's happened, and we're uploading here of Janet Yellen, Jerome Powell saying we have to do this. We have to raise the debt ceiling. And I used to be a believer 20 years ago that you could lower the debt ceiling, we could fix these things, but the dollar is debt. And if you understand that it's a liability on your balance sheet, it's not an asset, it's not something you want to hold long term, then you look at things very differently. You start selling off that dollar and putting it into other assets. You go short the dollar and you go long other assets. And that's really what the smart money, the 1%, the 5%, 10% of people of society have done. And that's why you see this wealth gap continuing to run away from everyone, because the people that understand the game, understand the dollar is debt, understand this inflationary currency that we have, the inflationary monetary system, then you have to go short dollars. You have to sell dollars and buy actual things of value, actual assets. When the dollar itself is not an asset, why would you hold it, right? If it's just pieces of paper, it's not backed by anything. It's just backed by fiat, by government decree saying you've got to pay taxes in this. If they said you don't have to pay taxes in it anymore, then not one person would hold dollars anymore. It'd quickly go away. And the free market's going to force the government's hand eventually anyway, and that will end up happening. And it will be a hard default in a sense, or transition to a new system. That's why I'm putting my bet in building my life, building new systems, education, real estate, all the different things, all investing, everything through Bitcoin. That is the new monetary system. That is the hardest money that has ever existed, and that's the way of the world. It's the new digital network. It's the new hardest supercomputer ever built. So all of life is going to go to that. It's the money of the internet, magic internet money at the end of the day, right? Let's call it what it is. It's this beautiful thing that's going to give us hard, deflationary, sound money, and something we can actually just trade, and instead of having to sell out of it and go short it and jump it into all these other assets and become investors and become traders and go out the risk curve, making all these wild, investments just to try to stay ahead of life, just to try to stay ahead of the currency devaluation. So that's the DXY, or the 10-year treasury. Obviously, the yields are bumping up, so they're selling off a bit. So they're selling off, and people are jumping into dollars more. That's why we see the DXY strengthening as well. So what bonds are inverse from each other. So when you have the yield going up, that means the price is coming down. So we have this sell-off in bonds, the yields are jumping. That's why we see the DXY here up as well. Up again a couple of points really from last week. And it's this huge jump. We see people pumping into the dollar and kind of holding dollars, hoarding dollars again for a second. So that's why we see the DXY right here really jumping again out of a trend as well. We just showed a trend there in the last one, but look at this trend. I mean, that's pretty crazy. So it just gives you an idea of things to watch for. It's just, again, this is not scientific, but watch these things. Watch what's happening in the coming days, coming weeks, see what happens here. And this is, maybe because there's the debt ceiling debate going on. We have the State of the Union address here in America coming up. We have this debt ceiling debate, which we've made videos about, making more here about the illusion of the debt ceiling. And Mike Maloney talks about this a ton over the last 10 years. The debt ceiling is an illusion. We keep bumping it up for the last 100 years. It's arbitrary. We print currency. Doesn't mean it's right, but we keep spending beyond our means because the dollar is debt, and most people just don't understand that. Most conservatives, Republicans don't understand that you can't rein spending in, even though you should, and they should have, or whatever. It doesn't matter. The train has left the station, as they say. You need to start using that currency that's coming out and buying assets with it, and buying assets that you can control and that you have a really good understanding of. That's really the world we live in. And the reason, at the end of the day, the wealth gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Most people I know are not going to go and become real estate professionals. That's something that I had the fortune to do over the last 10, 12 years. And most people aren't going to do that. That's hard. It takes time. It takes energy. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of sacrifice. Most people are not going to be able to do that. So we need to have a money that we can save, that every single person can save, whether they're at a hedge fund in New York or they're working at McDonald's in Nebraska. You've got to be able to have a money, of an asset that we can save, that anyone can save, spend less than they earn, and save and grow wealthier over time. That's the only thing I know of that will bring that wealth gap back, and it will, at the very least, bring the standard of living up and the cost of living down, and start melting away the division, healing the division, the polarity we have. That is what's driving all this. A lot of people don't understand that, right? It's the John Maynard Keynes quote of 1 man in a million understand inflation. Inflation and central banks are truly the evil at the end of the day that is causing any of this. When you corrupt the money, Jesus himself knew this, right? Give to Caesar what is Caesar's and give to God what is God's. He knew, even then, there was an inflationary money. They had gold coins, silver coins, that were being clipped down and debased and melted down and made into new coins, and the people are being screwed. And there's really nothing they could do about it. There just wasn't anything they could do. So, I mean, Jesus himself obviously knew, hey, don't worry about this. Don't worry about these earthly possessions. Don't worry about this. Just prepare yourself. Prepare yourself in me. Do the right thing, and you will be fine. Because he knew, again, that there wasn't anything to do. The treasurer, the people, there's no way the people could revolt. What are they going to do? They had no firearms. They had nothing they could protect themselves with or protest the government with. So crypto, again, here is down a little bit. So you see a little bit of this flight, like we said, this debt ceiling. Some people get freaked out about it. Again, it's nothing to freak out about at the end of the day. It's going to get past. They might freak about it. They might even do the 11th hour, and they might say we're going to shut down the government and do these things but people are going to scream and cry. Nothing will end up happening. The debt ceiling will get raised like it has every other time. Eventually, some people might eventually say, just like, I'm not doing this anymore. You get some people that really don't understand the system, and they'll just say, I'm principled, I'm not doing this anymore. And you could cause like little ruptures here and there. But this is probably why I would assume that you have things like this happening, these little bumps, because we're in that debt ceiling debate. We're in this kind of illusionary period right now. This is why Bitcoin sold off. People are, again, bonds are sold off, Bitcoin sold off a little bit. The index is kind of steady, stable, and things have flown basically to the dollar, kind of a little bit of like, hey, I'm just kind of wait and see on the side here. So oil. Same thing. People are buying things of value a little bit. Gold and silver, again, have dropped a little bit. The flight out of some of these assets and then just into the dollar over the last, and then with the jobs report too. We had the jobs report. Obviously, this is just some really, really backwards numbers going on here that we've talked about a ton. Really good jobs report, yet people are getting laid off everywhere. So you have to be able to see the signal through the noise here. And this is why we talk about these big three things. Gold, silver, and Bitcoin are kind of like those liquidity markers that we want to look at. Then the other big three of the health of the economy are the DXY, the 10-year. So the DXY here is where we're seeing things sell off. The strength of the dollar is buying you less things. And we want to see the 10-year, see what's going on there. Obviously 3.6. So that's been, again, being bought up in general, so driving yield down. Now we see this little tick the other way. So things to keep an eye on. I think the next coming weeks here are going to be very interesting to see which way we go and see how the debt ceiling debate plays out. So watch that very closely to see what happens. And then, like we said, the oil, gold, and silver, we mentioned all that. So those are the big things. Those are the really big ones. Let's look at Bitcoin in general and see if it's running. Beautiful. It looks like it is running. I want to see. I thought I had the mempool in here, but we want to show the mempool. So, this is, I think, a really crazy chart too. This is what has a lot of the World Economic Forum types and stuff freaked out. These charts of world population, people freaking out about this and the exponential growth of human beings. And I just wanted to show this quick. It's just comedy hour. Like humans can't figure this out. We can't figure out a way to get around all this with the technology, Moore's law, everything, doubling, technology doubling, and our intelligence basically doubling, every 6 months, 12 months. We can't figure it out, though. Again, we always show this. Remember true inflation, what it really is, 15, 16%, if you measure it by the 1980 standards. And again, remember where we are and what happens when Bitcoin starts climbing this chart. I just want to give these metrics every single day so we can see exactly what is going on. Still 31.5 trillion in debt. Still 31.5 trillion. So Bitcoin is running. The sun is up. Things are good. Things are good. We're still every second of every day, because the dollar is debt, and every single dollar is owed back to the Fed with interest on it. So we're still a debt-based society. If you hold the dollars long term, you will lose. That is a guarantee. It's lost 99% of its purchasing power over the last 110 years, and it'll probably lose another 99% over the next decade or two. And that's my opinion. However, we have a lot of data to back that up. So again, here's Bitcoin compared to the dollar. Here's your dollar in Bitcoin terms, just getting destroyed, absolutely crushed. And again, here is your life on dollars the last 40 years. Exponentially more dollars you have to find to buy the same carton of eggs, or you substitute a house, car, whatever it may be. And here is your life in Bitcoin. If you are saving in Bitcoin over the last 5, 10 years, whatever it is, your life would get infinitely cheaper. This graph would look even more crazy if it would have gone back to the last 10, 12, 14 years. So you're buying farms, you're buying compounds, you're buying whole counties at this point if you are saving in Bitcoin. So this is why we do this every day. It's to reinforce and have repetition of what is actually going on in the world, and actually seeing the forest from trees, the signal from the noise of what is actually happening, and reminding ourselves, this is happening. If I stay in the dollar, this is what's happening. I owe $247,000 immediately. I just owe it. If you're born, right away, you owe $95,000 to the government. So you need a way out of that. We're going to have another video about, how do we solve the $31.5 trillion? We have a video we did, how to save Social Security, how to save 401k and all that. And we're going to post another version of that, but go back, 6 months ago, we have a video. I'll try to plug it here and put it in of how to save that. You can't do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. So what are you doing differently? Completely differently. Not like, I'm going to invest in a new 401k or IRA. Wrong answer. Life insurance, no, wrong answer. That none of that has proven. We've proven over the last 50 years, 100 years, that's not helping anyone. That clearly isn't helping anyone. So we need a new way out. Life insurance, doing something like that, cash value, whole life policy maybe, is not financial advice. This is freedom advice. Having the freedom, hopefully the company's there in 5 years, 10 years, 100 years, right? So hopefully that's there, but we're gonna bank on that. I don't like banking on things, but that is one way. That's a risk mitigation way that I would say. That's a one way we can hopefully have control over assets and get outside of that debt matrix. So I appreciate you. Please let me know what your thoughts are on this and what the economy movements are like to you, what you're seeing in your areas locally, real estate, business, and kind of what's going on there. I'd love to know where you're at, how those things are. Appreciate your time and energy. It's the most important asset we have. It's the only finite asset we have besides Bitcoin. Bitcoin is time, and time is Bitcoin. And let me know your comments in here. Like I said, we can battle it out here. Please share it. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Please share this with someone you think might get something out of this. And we're on a mission at the end of the day to build a community and to I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'm a student forever and always. But sharing my truth, sharing my reality, and what I've learned over the last 20 years of politics, professional hockey, building businesses, investing in our family business, and doing very well, fortunately, and what we have seen doing in that world, in our studies, in our experiences. So we are on this mission to share that, the calling inside, to alert people as to what is going on and help each other prepare. Not prepping. This is not prepping just for fun and giggles. This is preparedness to be an upstanding citizen. And the more prepared you are, the more confident, the more resilient, the more independent person you are, and the better you're able to stand up for yourself, your family, your loved ones, your community, and the people around you that need you. Look forward to seeing you on the next one.